Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Alana James, and I want to thank you for your interest in today's group work challenge or topic of looking at the challenge of changing identities. I think it's an important topic for graduate students because in the midst of all of this cognitive change, there's also role change and your portion of life, etc. So it's a good topic. Unfortunately, I was traveling and hit by a big snowstorms across the United States, and the original timing for this was not possible. And so this is a makeup and will be quick, but hopefully it will give you some ideas that you can move forward with. Group. And what happens with groups is that we come together, either myself or a student talks for a short period of time. Sometimes we have reading materials, etc., and then we talk about them as a group. But today there's no group. Today it's just you, this video, and some good ideas. Let's start with what the literature tells us about identity. In a nutshell, identity is something we construct for ourselves out of the roles we play. So identity as a mother, identity as a daughter, identity as a worker or a person in a job or a graduate student. Our understanding of the world also comes into that. So our identity comes from what it means to be a woman or a man, or however we classify. And sexual preference and culture and all of it. That means that also that any of the circumstances we're in at the moment. So our identity can be as a poor person or as a rich person. It's a fluid topic, and it is largely under our control. Because what it means to be any of the identities that we place is up to us. Now, one of the graduate students that I worked with recently talked about identity in her literature review. And these are 3 points I thought were particularly interesting. She was focused on identity as a person who takes care of other people, as when we have a family member that requires our care. But the ideas and the literature she was quoting, I think, cut across all kinds of boundaries. So I hope you find them useful. The self is comprised of multiple identities in modern society. It is constructed from our interactions with others in a particular context, and upon our reflections on others' perceptions of us in conjunction with our perceptions of ourselves. So that's worth sitting with for a minute. We construct it based upon our interactions with others, and then that has the basis of the context, and then our reflections on how others perceive us in conjunction with that perception. So it's a give and a take. What is most salient to this analysis is the idea that people act to verify their conceptions of who they are. And we all have seen this in other people. It might be harder to see it in ourselves, but we know when a person's conception of themselves is as an underdog or a victim, or as a privileged person, or as someone bigger than life, because they act to and then they get to see other people verify their conceptions and interact with that conception. In this way, self-identification as anything, she was talking about caregiving, indicates the process of impression management on the identity. So one's identification can be classified, can be categorized as something we embrace and enforce, or it can be something we slowly absorb, or it can be something we reject. So big topic, great, worthy of conversation. And so we'll come back to this next fall. But in the meantime, let me ask you some questions. What identity shifts have you experienced? Role identity, language, culture, anything? What are the identity shifts you've experienced? Did you, looking at the literature, did you embrace them? Did you just absorb it, or did you reject it when other people tried to throw an identity on you? What was your experience of that? Were you excited? Maybe it was a new identity change you really wanted. Maybe it made you insecure or uncertain. Experience of that varied from one moment to another. I know that as a person living in a country other than the country that that I sound like an American, but I'm an Irish person as well. And I know that living in Ireland, I was excited to live in Ireland. I was excited to take on being Irish. I'm forever insecure that the cultural differences are so big they won't understand. There's some uncertainty sometimes when how it is to be Irish comes into a conversation. And it varies from moment to moment. Also, being American in an Irish situation, sometimes I reject what they think about Americans. Sometimes I embrace it. It depends on their point of view. So maybe that's a synopsis from my experience that will help you tease out your experience in your own mind. What would you tell others about that experience? What was your biggest challenge? Was it hard to feel strong in the face of so much new difference? Was it hard to know how to react? Perhaps you've had a challenge that impacted your self-esteem. Graduate school often makes people feel like an imposter, like they're really not as smart as they think they ought to be. So worthy of conversation with each other when we get a chance. In the meantime, summer is coming. Hoping that you're not going to be someone who at the end of the summer says, oh my goodness, it's over. What did I do? I talked to friends, I surfed, I didn't get much done. And to that end, we have some, what we hope are good ideas for Doctoral Net. We're going to have some sessions you want to write, and then we'll figure out what is the perhaps appropriate place to get that story published. We're going to have some sessions hosted by people from different cultures, so you can learn what it's like to be from that culture in an academic environment, and have some conversation with people from the culture you self-identify as. We've been asked to do something on crafting the non-traditional career path based upon life experience and professional credentials. So we'll work a little bit with that. I hope these sound good. If you have anything in particular you would like us to be doing, let us know and we'll be happy to do it. So until I see you again, thanks for watching, and apologies for what was an unavoidable change in circumstance due to weather.